Hi, moms and dads. Dr. Nicole here with a family-friendly tech tip. A question that I'm often asked at my clinic by parents is, how do I start implementing boundaries and limits around screen time and technology with my kids if it's something that we haven't implemented before in our family? Some parents have given their kids access to multiple kinds of electronic devices without setting boundaries or limits. And then when they learn about the concerns of kids spending too much time on devices, about the dangers of things they can access, start to wonder, oh my goodness, how do I go back now and put some of these limits in place when I've given my kids free rein? So I want to share a couple thoughts with you about that. I think that as parents, we should be evolving and changing our parenting practices over time in any area when we learn more and know more about things. And that includes setting limits with our children in all areas, including electronic devices. So one of the first things that's important to do is to acknowledge to your children that you have handled device use for them in a way that you think has not been as effective as it could be, and that you're going to make some changes. Be upfront with them that you feel like you made a mistake about giving them devices without setting limits, or maybe setting limits that you feel like now have not been effective. Acknowledge that you feel like you made a mistake. That's actually a great thing to model for kids, that adults can realize that we made mistakes and we can change things. So acknowledge that and let them know that now that you have more information, you're going to do some things differently to help keep them safe and healthy. So be upfront and start the conversation that way. I've learned some things. I realize I haven't done things in the way that I feel now is best, so we're going to make some changes. The second part of that is to allow for whatever uncomfortable feelings might come up for them. The vast majority of kids, when faced with the fact that they're going to have some new limits and restrictions on device use, may feel frustrated, they may feel upset, they may feel angry. As a parent, just allow for whatever those feelings are. Acknowledge that they're feeling disappointed, frustrated, upset, and let them know that they're certainly allowed to feel that way. That doesn't change the fact that you're going to implement some new things that you feel are important for them. Then it's important to be clear about exactly what changes you're going to be making. What limits and boundaries are you going to implement? Is it limits on the amount of time? Are you putting monitoring programs on their devices? Are you going to have a certain spot in the house where you're going to keep devices? Whatever the new expectations and limits are that you're going to set, be very clear about those so that your kids know exactly what's going to happen and why. And then you need to implement the plan, stick to it, be consistent. When kids have not had limits and boundaries in place in any area, including electronic devices, there's a tendency to either forget about the new rules or limits, or to try to test those limits to see if parents will give in and go back to the old way of doing things. That's why it's really important that once you've laid these changes and expectations out there, that you implement them consistently and that you stick to them, even though that may be challenging for you and your kids at first. Stick with it, be consistent. Over time, it will get easier. Your kids will adjust to the new limits, and you all will get to see the benefits and the improvements that come from putting healthy boundaries and limits in place for your kids as it relates to devices and screen time. I hope this helps you think about how to start setting healthy limits on your child's device use, especially if you haven't done that before. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back next time with more family-friendly tech tips.